LinkedIn is the world's largest professional network. In fact, it has over 120 million members. Sometimes people wonder, what is LinkedIn compared to Facebook or Twitter? And there's this great analogy, I think, that kind of separates those three medias, because you can utilize all of them to find a job. But Facebook, the people that you would have on Facebook, or maybe the people you would have in your family room, your friends and family, that's who you would have there. Twitter would be anything that's on your front lawn. You might say anything for the world to see. And then LinkedIn is who you might have into your office. Anyone that you want to connect with in a professional way. So it's a great tool to connect with people professionally, and it's a great way to kind of manage your career from a lot of different angles. Well, it's important because it's a way to kind of control that image that you might have there out there in the internet space. You know, we have Facebook, we have Twitter. Some of that can be more personal. By having a LinkedIn account, actually, if you Google yourself, you want to see what comes up with your name. And if you Google yourself and you have a LinkedIn profile, that is the first thing to come up. And recruiters always look they will always Google somebody's name before they're going to meet with them. So it's a really important tool to make sure that you look incredibly professional, and that you can be found actually by those recruiters that might be looking for you. You know, we have lots of different photos that we do with maybe Facebook and all that. This, you want to be a really professional photo. You don't really want anybody else in it. You just want a nice, smiling, professional headshot of yourself, so people really have a true sense of who you are. You look clean-cut, professional. That's really important. Your headline is, if you're a student, you might want to say what program you're in, or if you're in a leadership group, maybe what organization that is. If you're a graduate, you might want to talk about what kind of job you're seeking, so that people right away, if they see your name, they know what you're seeking and what you're skilled at. With your experience section, you really want to take what you already have in your resume and apply the same language in your LinkedIn profile. So using the same strong action verbs, bullets, making it measurable so people can really see where you have worked and for how long. It's also a great way, not a lot of people ask for letters of recommendation anymore, but you might want to go back to your professors or former employers and say, would you mind writing a couple sentences for me on LinkedIn, just so that people can get a little bit of a flavor of who you are and what you might be like to work with. Well, the fact is that people change jobs and locations all of the time, and it's really hard to keep track of that movement. I like to think of it as kind of your own personal address book, where you know what's happening, how people are changing. You can congratulate people if they've moved. It keeps you more up to date with where people are and what opportunities might be happening. You can start by just connecting with your friends and family, and then you see who all their other contacts are. So it's a very powerful tool to keep track of people, to see where they are, and to start to build from there. When you connect with friends and family and you start to reach out to people, it's really important what that message is when you connect with them. For instance, if you go to an event and you meet somebody that you're interested in, it's perfectly acceptable to follow up, to look for that person on LinkedIn, follow up with them, and ask to connect with them. But what I think is one of the pieces that people forget to do is to write that personal, polite message to them to want to connect with them. Whether that's friends, family, or someone you've just met at an event or after an informational interview. Remind them of the context of the meeting, remind them of why you want to connect, and just do it. It only has to be 3 sentences, but it makes a huge difference, and it's a way to set you apart and become more memorable. So I really encourage that personal note when you're connecting and beginning to build that professional network. Well, fortunately, they have a great advanced search tool. So if you know a company that you're really interested in, you can just start following that company like you might on Twitter or Facebook. And that way you can find out if they're hosting any events, if they're posting any jobs, or just what the new trends might be happening with that company. So that can be really helpful. I also encourage people, because I do believe that ducks like to help ducks, is if you want to get connected with a company like a Columbia Sportswear or a solar company, just plug in University of Oregon Oregon and plug in the company name with just a simple comma in between. And you would be amazed at how many people are working there or have worked there in the past. And then that's a great opportunity to reach out to that individual and say, I'm a recent grad from University of Oregon. I'm really interested in your company. Would it be possible for me to come in and conduct an informational interview with you? So it really can be helpful. There's so many different groups also to join. There's like 200,000 groups. So if you know a particular industry that you're interested in following, and any of the U of O alumni groups, there's actually quite a few that can be tailored just to the general University of Oregon, or there might be ones affiliated with your school. So join as many of those groups as possible. If you're in the Portland area, there's a University of Oregon Career Center Portland group where we post all of our events and we post any jobs that we're aware of that we think might be of interest to recent grads. So, and then you find out other people that are in those groups, and that's another way to connect with people. So there's lots of different ways that you can find out about opportunities by following companies and joining different groups. Yeah, I encourage you to reach out there to join LinkedIn and to start getting connected with ducks and with companies.